Dante, we are trying something a little different. I'm in Nashville. You're there in Pittsburgh in the office. Looking good.
Hey, you too.
Thanks. Thank you. We might have unplanned appearances by my dog as opposed to your cats this time.
Now you know what it feels like.
I know, right?
It's hard to, you can't just kick them out.
It's cold outside, which is part of why we're doing this, giving this thing an attempt from remote. So we are talking because the Wegovy pill is out. Obviously, the GLP-1 agonists have been the talk of the town for a couple of years. We've done lots of coverage of them in the past, but this is a big deal because no longer will it be an injection, although that's still available, obviously. But Wegovy has approved and is to market with a pill. Tell me the details. What's going on with this?
Yeah. So as of December 22nd, 2025, the Wegovy 25 milligram pill was approved amongst some other strengths. So like you said, I mean, it really is a massive shift. This is not the first semaglutide pill. Semaglutide's the active ingredient for both Wegovy and Ozempic. And so to that end, there was a Rybelsus trade name product, which was marketed for diabetes. It's been out for a long time, but it is a lot different. It's not as high of a dose, which is specifically needed for treating obesity. So we're talking about, again, 25 milligrams of, weight loss in a pill is what everybody's calling it now. So,
I mean, it almost is the magic pill. Like, this is kind of the thing everybody's been looking for ages. Okay. So you said this is higher dosages to effectuate the weight loss. What were that? You said it's 25 milligrams.
Yeah. So if we just stick to that dose specifically, the useful takeaway is that the equivalent dose for the weekly shot is 2.4 milligrams. And so you see 25 milligrams per day in the pill, and it's going to have some people scratching their heads. And
it's a lot more.
It is. And that's the whole reason why, well, not the whole reason. This is one of the main reasons why, the GLP-1s were initially marketed as injections, because they basically just lack the oral bioavailability that you would hope for. And so in order to get the effective dose, you just have to take, much more, or 70 times more as far as not quite, but you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's 10 times more per day as opposed to a once weekly injection.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. So the 25 milligrams is roughly equivalent to the 2.4 milligram weekly dose.
Exactly.
All right. So does that mean then that if people, because I know people titrate up to these doses, is that the same case here? Are there lower doses that they titrate up to, or how does that work?
It will function the same way. You'll start it for the first month. You can start at 1.5 milligrams, and then at each subsequent month you can increase. It's usually double or more up to the max dose of 25. And, for a lot of people, this, like similar to the injection, you'll see, you can realize the most benefits realistically at the highest dose, but not everybody may be able to tolerate that. Some people might kind of hit the goal that they're looking for. So it really is another one of those instances will depend.
One of the questions I've been wondering, and I've heard this from a couple of folks I know that are actually on the medications, they're on the injectables, but I know you have to titrate up because of the gastrointestinal side effects and things like that, and for safety, that's why they do that. If you get started and you've titrated up a little bit, and let's just say, I don't know, instead of 25 milligrams, you're at whatever, 12 and a half of that dosage. And at that dosage, you are not experiencing the hunger. You are losing weight. It seems like everything is working. Is there a reason to continue going up in dosage, or should you just stay put until it stops working?
I think the general recommendation would be to stick where you are. Once you start a medication like this, it's important to be actively managed for that reason, because you will have people that if they get this online or not, maybe with a practitioner that they're comfortable with, then they're just going to escalate the dose because that's what the conventional recommendation is. But
Right.
the caveat in that recommendation is you're being actively managed. What are your side effects? How are your symptoms? How have they changed? How is your blood sugar? What are all these things that are being measured, so that the adage is use the lowest possible dose for the shortest amount of time. And unfortunately, for some people, mentally being on these meds long term is a tough pill to swallow. No pun intended, but but you kind of get my point. It's still, nothing changes with the management. Lowest possible dose, shortest amount of time. And for some people, it's again, it's not the end of the world if you end up having to titrate up to these higher doses.
That's why it's there.
Mm-hmm.
To make it useful.
There's a bunch of there's a million and one reasons why one might respond differently than the other. In that case, that's a whole,
And to that, what's the difference between the pill and the injectable, other than the injectable is once weekly versus a daily pill, and perhaps I'm not comfortable injecting myself? Are there any other reasons why I would choose one over the other?
So really, I think this comes down to the adherence. If like we said, somebody's already on the injectable, that's working fine, they have no issues managing that part of things, then you probably just keep them on that course. I think that for as many people that are now on these medications, there are still a lot of people who are apprehensive, even though they might be a good candidate to start these, because of the needle issue. So for that person, even though this is really expensive still, insurance coverage might be a little unclear and all of those kind of issues, you at least have this to get somebody in the door much quicker.
Got it.
So
you mentioned there, pricing. Is the price different from the injection? How does that work?
A month supply is functionally costing the system the same.
Okay.
I would say.
All right. And so,
so these are still really, this is still a high ticket item.
Yeah.
4 figures. It's costing somebody 4 figures a month.
Wow. But, man, that's intense and widely available. Most pharmacies are going to be able to fill this script. It's not like it was a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's available now, and I think that, again, one of the unsung benefits, I think, of something like this is that now you're going to have a whole chunk of people who are wanting to switch to the pill, or who haven't started yet because they couldn't deal with the needle issue, so they're going to start on the pill. And then, I think it'll free up some of the supply of the injectables that have still been, at times, it's been, technically legally resolved, on a broad level, but there's still, there are still some issues. So I think it can definitely, it widens the amount of options.
Very cool.
So
anything else that we should be talking about with regards to this? Any other major relevant points?
The biggest thing I think we missed is maybe just the classic pharmacist patient interaction. If somebody gets put on this, what sort of side effects might they expect? A lot of this is probably just rehashing, what we've talked about with the injectables, a time and time again. But the same thing sort of remains true. There's a pretty high amount of patients affected by the nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, excuse me, in that, initial escalation phase.
Yeah.
And so that's why this, the pill might even look a little different as far as that titration schedule goes. So you're going to stick with a dose for at least a month or so. And that definitely can help to mitigate some of that. If you try to, for a lot of people, if they try to, bypass that process, you can run into some issues, and, You just want to make sure that you're careful when getting started. You don't want to do anything that's going to prevent you from wanting to kind of continue it in the future.
Yeah.
And then one of the other interesting counseling points is the 30-minute fast mandate. And so they're encouraging everybody to take this in the morning, to kind of just first thing you do 30 minutes before you eat, take it upon waking, empty stomach, and not with a whole lot of volume. So they recommend 4 ounces of water.
Interesting.
And so you're like, what the heck? That's oddly specific, but it's for these. There is actually more of like a biochemical reason that I was made aware of in this case, that actually the larger amount of liquid that you ingest with it has the potential to erode the tablet properties, and then ultimately accelerate how fast you're absorbing the drug.
Oh.
So changing the way that they would want you to absorb it. So
that makes sense.
Take it with a little bit of liquid. Yeah. 30 minutes before consuming food and other medications, other beverages. And this is kind of from my estimation, a non-negotiable to adhere to that portion.
Very cool. We've covered it a billion times before, but just for the sake of anybody that's just now thinking about this, dietary suggestions when you're on one of these pills. Obviously, hopefully you're not going to be super hungry, but what should people be eating when they are taking these weight loss medications?
The goal, ultimately is to not be so inhabited by all this food noise, having to think about how much to eat, how much, how little, all those kind of things. That's the goal in these agents, is to dampen that process. But as far as the specific, what am I grabbing for? What do we recommend? Especially as you're getting started, you're probably better off smaller meals. Smaller meals. There's already this risk for some GI upset. Not that you should consciously try to reduce how much you're eating in total, but again, you might be used to, when you're at work and you have extra 20 minutes, you're able to just jam in as much food and as much liquid as you can. When starting something like this, that can definitely make you a little uncomfortable. High volume type foods like big salads, oatmeal, those kind of things might be for some people. I mean, we can run through a whole list of things. You just think about you think about the volume of food, and you think about just trying to, almost intentionally spread that out a little further than you would have otherwise.
Makes sense, because the gastric emptying is slowed down on purpose. Makes sense. All right.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Brilliant. Anything else folks need to think about? Talk to your doctor?
I think talk to your doctor. Yeah, I think we covered it.
Awesome.
And again, ultimately, it's just how many more time? It's going to be 2 weeks, until the next GLP-1 segment
absolutely
comes up. So it's an ongoing discussion.